Hey, I'm Kayla. Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another TBR jar update. This is the no buy book challenge that I'm taking on. I finished up 3 more prompts, so we'll talk about the prompts I finished and what books I read. I will also choose another 3 prompts with you and maybe even let you know what I plan on reading. A little reminder about this challenge if you don't know, or if you maybe just forget. I'm taking on a whole TBR jar full of prompts, and I am challenging myself to read books without having to spend any more money. So I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription that I use very often, and I've been using it a lot to complete this challenge, but I'm also making sure I go to my local library as much as possible and reading books that I physically own around my house that I have to get to. Today's a great mix of all 3 of those. I read 1 book on Kindle Unlimited, I borrowed one on Libby from my library, and then finished up a physical book I had at home. So today's a great one. Starting off with a prompt that I struggled to finish, which is funny because thinking about it, it's one that you would think I would be able to finish well because I'm a person that reads a lot of books but also loves to watch a lot of television. So this first prompt was a book that was being made into a TV show or a movie or had already been turned into a TV show or movie. I say being made because the book that I ended up finishing for this prompt was Light Lark by Alex Astor. I struggled. I have talked about it in past videos, but I picked 2 other books originally to finish this prompt. One was a book that I got from Libby, and when I got it from the library, the digital copy that I got was formatted like crazy. Because of the formatting issues, it was really hard to read. I started trying to read it on my iPad, only got through a few pages, didn't think I was going to like it, didn't knew I was going to struggle rather with the formatting, and here's Roman. That was Dare Me by Meg Abbott, one of the 2. And I stopped reading that one, and then Shadow and Bone, which I also DNF'd last year. I had been waiting for Light Lark to come through on my Libby because I have Nightmane here, a physical copy. I only had to wait probably a couple weeks for it, but when it hit, I was like, oh, I know that is being made into a movie. It hasn't been made into a movie yet, so I thought it was the perfect book to crush this prompt. I was excited to read it. Light Lark is it's a series. It's going to be 5 books. There are 3 of them out right now. This is a YA series in which rulers get together every 100 years and they compete in a competition to try to beat the curses that have befallen their island. Our main character, our female main character, is a ruler named Isla Crown, and she goes to compete in the Centennial, but she has a big secret, and it's one that you know. And her secret is that she doesn't have powers. It was a really, really good first book. Go ahead, Roman. I did start the second one. It wasn't one where after I finished the first, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to finish the second. But what I will say is that there was a very shocking event that occurred at the end. There were a couple things that I kind of saw writing on the wall, knew that something was going to happen that was unsuspecting to our main character, but ultimately would change things for her greatly. That did occur, but there was other stuff that I really didn't see coming that happened. One of the things that I really liked about this book is the world building that happened. And I think I enjoyed the world building in it because it's a YA book, so I think the world was built just a little easier. It's aimed towards a younger audience, so as somebody that isn't as experienced reading fantasy, it kind of helped. Really, really did help me. Now, I'm gonna jump prompts a little bit because I want to talk about another book that I read in December for another prompt. So just keep those Light Lark thoughts to the back of your head. My next prompt that I crushed through was a romantasy book, which, I mean, come on, I'm reading a lot of romantasy, or I read a lot of romantasy in 2024. And as we continue with 2025, I am definitely reading some more romantasy. I really enjoy it. The romantasy book that I chose for this prompt was The Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. This one has been on my TBR for a really long time, I will say. They just finished the series. It is a 4-book series, and unfortunately for me, I didn't know this going in, but only the first 2 books are on Kindle Unlimited, which means I need to purchase the next 2 books. But I did read The Trial of the Sun Queen, and then the second one, which is The Rule of the Aurora King. Yeah, yes. Back to The Trial of the Sun Queen. Very, very similar to Light Lark. Like, very, very similar. I will say Trial of the Sun Queen is it's not a YA. It's an adult book, a new adult book. I don't know how it would be classified, but it is a romantasy. It definitely it's a little edgier than Light Lark. It's a little steamier than Light Lark, especially as we get into the second book. Trial of the Sun Queen, opens up with Lore, who is our female main character, and her 2 siblings are imprisoned. And they've been there for about 12 years. She is taken to a punishment. She's taken like outside, left in the woods, basically, to fend for herself. And she is taken. She is taken and then is entered rather into this competition, which is the Trial of the Sun Queen, where there are 10 women who will compete for a hand in marriage to the Sun King, who Laura then meets. She finds out that she is there under some false pretenses. She is advertised as being from the Umbra, which is like the lower levels of society, and the people in where she's at, which I don't remember what it's called, but they think she's from the Umbra, and not that she is from prison. Nobody knows her past. All she knows is that she has a bone to pick with the Aurora King, and it seems like the Sun King is he might help her out. So that book also ended up with a pretty big twist at the end, one that was fine. It was good, very, very good. And I did continue on into the second one. I am excited to read the third book, but like I mentioned, I will need to purchase that one. But it is weird, I will say. If I could go back in time, I would not start these series together. I wouldn't start Light Lark and Trial of the Sun Queen, which is actually the name of that series, is the Artifacts of Orianos. Orianos? Artifacts of Orianos. And then Light Lark. It's the Light Lark series. I wouldn't have started them together. I would have probably tried to finish the Artifacts of Orion. I would have tried to finish the Trial of the Sun Queen series before I got into Light Lark, but it's kind of not how Libby worked, and here we are. But they're very similar. So if you're a person that have read both of those books, without spoiling anything for me, please let me know. Did you find there to be a lot of similarities between the two? Because I gotta say, like, multiple. And when I was thinking about it and talking to my friend Carly about it, I was like, yeah, no, there's like quite like the Sun King, like all the, like, yeah. So, things to think about. My last prompt was a book by multiple authors, which was great for me in December because I had a Christmas book around, and that is A Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. And I will also tell you this. I was today years old, literally like today. Actually, it was yesterday. I was yesterday years old when I found out that Sierra Simone is like this dark romance author, Sierra Simone, like the one that wrote The Priest. So that's funny. Didn't know that. Do have that book downloaded now though, so I'll let you know how I feel about that. I This one was fine. And I've read a couple reviews that said that it felt like it was two separate books. And I think that was one of my problems with it. You could have literally like this book in half and given me the back half, and I would have been like, that's a different book. That is how I felt. This one was a cute second chance romance. It was our female main character, Winnie. It was like her sexual awakening, her awakening within herself. There was a lot of like growth for her in this book, but there's a trope. There's a trope that like when it occurs, I just hate it. And so I am going to spoil this trope for you, but if you don't want to spoil it, go ahead and just give yourself like 10 seconds. Spoilers coming. Accidental pregnancy. My whole thing with the accidental pregnancy trope here was that Winnie like really, really, really wants to be a mom, and I appreciate that we gave that to her, but this like the foundation that it was built upon just could have been done in such a different way. I understand accidental pregnancies are a big part of life, but it just felt really unnecessary here. Spoiler over. So what I felt like I didn't get from the back half was that same type of awakening that you had in the first half, for Winnie especially. I did feel like Callum got to have some good growth, but yeah, Winnie really got shorted as a character in this story, which makes me upset. I did end up finishing it up. I hate read it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It just took a turn. When I pick up a book that looks like this, like I think that's my thing. When I pick up a book that looks like this, I am looking for it to be a light rom-com, funny, good, humorous, enjoyable time. When it gives me more than that, so it gave me like it was a character growth story. When it gives me something like that, I want to have it, but I don't want to lose the fun joy. That's what happened. And the ending, yes, was full of responsibility, but it still could have been full of joy and love. And that's not what I was feeling. I didn't feel romance. And I felt sad that didn't, Winnie got it all at the end, but it didn't feel as romantic or just as, I don't know, happy as it could have. And again, maybe it's me. Maybe it was my read of this one. I absolutely would read another book of them together. I've never read Julie Murphy on her own, but there's another book in this series there's like another standalone in this series. I don't know if they're in the same town or something, but I could absolutely see myself trying out A Merry Little Meet Cute next winter. Okay, so I got through all of the 3 prompts that I finished, which means it's time to pick some prompts. And it's been quite a long time since I picked some. So I am going to pick 3 today, and we'll see how much I can brainstorm on. What do you say? On the clock, right here. All right. First one. Show you first. A book like your favorite TV show. Okay. So the favorite TV show would have to be Law and Order Special Victims Unit, which is good because Olivia Benson is a detective. She's a detective in the Special Victims Unit, which is children, cases of domestic violence, that type of stuff. So a book about a detective actually shouldn't be that hard to find. Off the top of my head, I'm struggling, but I'm thinking about authors like Janet Ivanovic. Maybe there's a James Patterson. Okay, we're going to ponder this one. This one is going to take a little bit of, this will ultimately take some research to find a book that's like my favorite TV show. And then it's definitely going to have to be, unless I do have a Catherine Slaughter book around. Let me. Okay, so I have this, it's a Karen Slaughter book, After That Night, which is a part of the Will Trent series, which is also a TV show. But this is about a woman who is SA'd. Actually, GBI Special Agent Will Trent. This actually might work. This was a trade. My friend Alex came up and she had been reading this book for months. I had talked to her 2 months later. She was still reading it, could not get through it. So I asked her if she wanted to swap. And while she was here, she ended up finishing all of the Tattooist from Auschwitz. Fantastic, fantastic book. Maybe not one I should have given her to read by the pool, but it happens. And she left me with After That Night by Karen Slaughter. So I might now have a reason to read it. Okay, I'm actually just going to put this one right in the book. One is chosen. Wonderful. Next pick. That actually worked out really well. Actually, I'm surprised. A book with a one-word title. Ha! Okay, well, this works because I am in the middle of Cade by Tejan, which is the last book in the Fallen Crest High series. I say I'm in the middle of it, but I really started it last week a little earlier than I was supposed to. I'm reading this with a friend, and because of that, I have been trying not to read it. So I started it, but I really didn't start it. So I definitely think this is going to count for my book with a one-word title. And if not, I am also looking at Night Bane, which I'm reading right now as well. So this one will be a really easy one for me. I'm trying to think if I'm reading anything else right now with one title, but I don't think I am. Literally just both of these. Fun, 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 fun. Ooh. I don't know what it is about my picks today, but it's like the TBR jar is trying to bless me. It's trying to get me through this challenge. I will say I want to pick one that isn't pink because there's a bunch of different color ink in here. Not that the ink means anything, but I feel like we just picked a lot of pink. Here's the last book you saved on Instagram. Okay, one sec. Of all of my saved posts on Instagram, these are all, but these are books that are coming out, which I guess Onyx Storm could count. I guess, is this the first? Okay, no, this one is actually first. Onyx Storm is also the first book in this carousel, which is funny. This reading journal I want. So yeah, that would be it. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Oh, we like that. Okay, I don't know how the audio was, but as you saw, I consulted the Instagram gods and they told me that Onyx Storm counts as my book that I saw. What is it? The last book that you saved on Instagram, especially because it was the first book in both posts, which is pretty funny. I guess it is definitely an anticipated release for this year. I am highly, highly anticipating it. My sweet friend Hannah is planning on going to the midnight release, and I was planning a trek up to see her. Unfortunately, these two events do not overlap. I won't be there for the release party, but she got me a copy. So, Onyx Storm technically counts as my no buy challenge because it is a sweet book that has been gifted to me, which is awesome. So, I'm looking forward to reading that with literally everybody else who has read these wonderful Fourth Wing and Iron Flame books. I actually live in the minority, it seems like. I enjoyed Iron Flame more than I enjoyed Fourth Wing, which is crazy. I've only read both once, I will say. I did read them back to back, which helped, but I just felt like Iron Flame wasn't your typical second book. It really did continue to drive the story in a way I didn't think was going to happen. Book one, Fourth Wing, seemed like the Hunger Games to me. It was very Hunger Games, it was very divergent. By the second book, I was not thinking those thoughts anymore. So I thought Iron Flame really gave this series a chance to stand on its own, and I'm really excited to continue it, just like everybody else. So, whoa, that's awesome. I wrapped up the 3 TBR prompts that I had read previously, the ones from last year, if you will. I picked 3 new prompts and I already have the books that I'm going to read for them. I'm in the middle of one prompt, which is great. This is going to be awesome. I have no clue how many prompts that I have left in here. When I shook today, I was like, oh, am I getting a little low? But at the end of the day, I've probably done less than 10 prompts already. So no, it shouldn't be getting low. But I do realize that I need to decide what I'm going to do after I finish this challenge, or am I just going to keep throwing prompts in and keep it up? There's a lot of different ways to do TBR jars. You could do challenges, you could just do the books that you have lying around. This has been such a good way for me to try new books and force myself to read things that I've wanted to read before but haven't gotten the chance to. So, I'm really happy about this challenge. Would you try anything like this? And if you were to pick a prompt, if you could pick like a dream prompt, what would you want to pick from the jar? Let me know. One of the hardest prompts that I thought I was going to have was the birthday year, was something that a book that was published the year that you were born, and it actually ended up being one of my favorite prompts. I really loved that Janet Ivanovich book that I read. I ended up giving it a 4 stars, and I could totally see myself continuing on reading that series. So, this challenge has been super great for me, and it keeps me reading things without spending unnecessary dollars. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you have a great day.